And
So I
very domestic too, like talking
uh,
about being in the bath,
yeah,
shaving, like
yes,
just like,
exactly.
we're not talking
So
about the I can imagine the world, like you say. It's sort
yeah,
of, this is very immediate, homey. Hello again and welcome to I've Got a Beatles podcast with Dave and Chris. And today we're going to go back into the lab to
that's
do
right.
a twofer. And we're going to talk about what we've described as the Yokos. And that
That's
would
right.
be uh, Oh Yoko from John Lennon from his Imagine album in 1971. And then Dear Yoko from Double Fantasy in 1980. So,
Yeah,
Chris,
I just wanted to apologize. Both of us had because of the last song album career was so sticky.
oh,
We had to take
yes,
uh, our lab coats into the dry cleaners.
yes, that's right.
So
That's
we'll
right.
be
We're
putting on our aprons before we go into the official lab. But
correct. And if you don't know what we're
yeah,
talking about, go listen to our prior
so
song under the microscope. So obviously, we've got two John Lennon songs that are very personal and songs towards his wife, Yoko Ono.
hmm
And I was thinking of the songs that the solo Beatles wrote with their wives' names in them.
hmm
Uh, are these the best, or are we thinking Lovely Linda is a great one? Or yeah, or I think doesn't Ringo might have a song where he mentions Barbara in there somewhere. I don't think George has an Olivia song, but directly, but
Yeah,
but
Dark Sweet Ladies sort
yes,
of
that's the
one.
closest.
So maybe we should do a rankings episode at some point on the love songs that are directly about. Well, don't forget
Oh,
Heather.
Heather, of course, Heather. How could I forget Heather? So is Heather or Lovely Linda the
Yeah.
better song? I
Oh,
mean,
that's tough choice.
tough choice. But no, that would be fun. But of course, John being John, he's going to give you very direct songs with his wife's name, Yoko Ono, in the
Yeah.
title of both recorded or written roughly 10 years apart, not
Yeah.
quite 9 years. But I would you say, before we get started, that they're kind of similar, or do you find them
Yeah.
very different?
I think they're similar. I do think that they're a little different in that one of them's a lot more confident and a little bit like I love to turn you on, a little
Mm,
has a little lilt of sexiness to it.
yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the other ones just I miss you all the time, even if you're not around. And even after all these years is a lyric in that, and that is a more mature, more
Mm,
sort of the relationship's been going on obviously for a long time at that point.
yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
Oh Yoko, it's a little fresher, a little more like young love.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. And their life circumstances were different at each time too. So as we will begin with "Oh Yoko" from, as I mentioned, it's the last song on Imagine. And I want to know what do you
mhm.
like its placement? A lot of people said this song should have been a single because it is very, I think both of us would say it's very catchy. Like just there's a lot of good musicality on it too.
Mhm.
Uh, is it placed well as an album closer? And do you think it should have been a single?
I think both, I'd say yes to both. I think it's a perfect album closer for Imagine. Kind of a bookend to Imagine, which is a more, like the broadest of all songs, like talking about life. And this is talking about life, but very specific. The thing that's giving his life meaning at the time,
Yeah, yeah.
closing the album. So it's sort of a nice uh bookend there.
And
So I
very
th
domestic too, like talking about being in the bath,
Yeah,
shaving, like
yes,
just like
exactly.
we're not talking
So,
about the I can imagine the world, like you say. It's sort
yeah,
of this is very immediate, homey.
exactly. So
Mm.
I think in that way, yeah, as being a closer, and it's very peppy, very good, a nice way to go out, going out on positive vibes. It's definitely a positive, friendly, fun song. So yes, and then as a single, I think it would have been nice, and I guess they tried to make it a single, and for some reason, John was like, "No,"
Right. He
is
wasn't
what I
having
read.
it. Yeah,
So
that's
it's
right.
I wonder why. I don't
Well, the
understand why.
interview I saw, he said, "Well, I don't want to put myself out there that way as kind of a soft song. That I need the hard edge. That's not really
Oh yeah,
what I'm after. It's not a manly
people won't
song."
think this one's cool
Yeah,
enough.
exactly, exactly. I know, silly
Yeah,
ideas.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
So I agree with you. It should have, like, it would have. I think it would have been quite popular.
yeah. Now, Dave, getting into the music of Oh Yoko, the music of all of Imagine is spectacular.
Yeah.
Really well done. Um, but you can't talk about Oh Yoko without the piano,
Yes.
and it's not John.
No, it's not. There's a in fact I read maybe is there a new video or documentary about Nicky Hopkins? I think there's
Oh,
something about him that just came out. But
hmm.
yeah, so he's all over this track and really it's not honky tonk, I wouldn't say that, but it's more kind of very flourishy, fancy stuff
Hmm.
sometimes, but grooving type piano, and it's really prominent in the mix. And we should say this is a lot. We're benefited from the, as I can see behind you, the John Lennon Imagine
Yeah,
box set
that's right.
that, yeah, that had a lot of different, it had evolution mixes, and you can really hear John, you can hear the song and Nicky Hopkins and all the music building. So the
Yes.
piano is a big part of this track.
Yeah, the piano, uh, great piano.
Yeah.
Alan White on the drums, Klaus Foreman on the bass. They're excellent as well. John and Phil Spector on the harmony
Yeah.
vocals.
Yeah.
Rod Linton and Andy Davis on acoustic guitars, which you can hear really well on the, I believe it's Elements mix. We'll talk about the different versions here in a
Yeah.
minute. The very, I believe this is the last and the first since Rocky Raccoon, John Lennon harmonica. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Correct. That's right. That's right. And it's the ending of the song is kind of funny because it just sort of fades out with the harmonica wailing away.
Yeah.
It doesn't really end conclusively. The song is pretty repetitive, I would say, and for me, a tidge too long.
Mhm.
Maybe one verse too many. But that said, it's got really nice distinguished parts. So you've got this little back and forth in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, I call your name. Oh,
Mm.
Yoko. So very simple lyrics, simple melody. For me, what stands out and where you can really hear Phil Spector is on the I'd love to turn you on.
Dave,
And
why didn't you go falsetto there? Come on.
I should, well,
Come on.
that's right. Yeah, that's true.
I was
Jonathan
like, when you were
falsetto.
doing that, I was like, should I attempt
I
to
know. Got to
do it? I was like,
kick it
no,
up a
no,
little
no,
bit.
no. No one wants to
Oh,
hear this.
that is really kind of a standout moment. It builds on this one chord, just holding that, laying it out there.
Do you
So
also like the little bit where he goes, right?
yeah, that's when the right before the harmonica comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty simple but effective musically, and you can tell that they're using a capo on the guitar because it's played, I think, in the key of D flat, which there's no way that a guitar player would play in D flat without a capo. It's fine for a pianist, but it sounds very ringy, very high. And
Yeah.
in some of the demos that you'll mention, I think when we talk about the evolution mix or uh, the elements mixes, you can hear that really high acoustic guitar stand
Yeah.
out.
It's a little something mildly out of tune
Yeah,
too.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. But I
Um,
think for this song, we know our friend Phil Spector gets a lot of controversy and a lot of hate here and there. But I will say in this album and this song, I think his echoey, bigger production works really well.
yeah.
Better than
Yeah.
the other song, I think.
And it really like in his production on this is probably the least super duper souped up
Yeah.
Spectre.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like all things must
Wah
pass. There's a
wah.
lot of like, yeah. Chanting the name of the Lord. That one's
Oh,
got
waiting on you
yeah,
all. Yeah, that
yeah.
one's just huge. No,
Most of these there it's scaled back a little bit, and at times on some of the other, like I don't want to be a soldier, there's a little bit of
mm,
that echoey thing that works really well.
right.
But here it's barely noticeable, really. I mean,
Yeah.
well done. Now, lyrics wise, there's not a whole lot to it. It's just like you were saying in the middle, domestic, in the middle of a shave, in the
Yeah.
middle of a bath, and there's a video out for this. And if you can watch, if you'd like to see them taking a bath,
Uh,
Yoko and John, and
great.
getting in the bath and everything,
Calling
it's
her name.
yeah, so they edited together some of the footage and made a fun little video for it. John described it in both the book and in this thing, and the I have the John Lennon Imagine book, the
Yes,
big
that's
book.
right.
I expected a lot more information in there that wasn't in here,
Mm.
but for Oyoko there wasn't that. But he did say he described it as a easy come, easy go song, like whistling down the lane to meet your lover.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's a sweetness to it.
Yes, yes. That's I think the that make it makes it stand out because you've especially on that album where you've got the a song like Imagine or a really vicious song like How Do You Sleep or the kind of questioning
Yeah.
song like How. This
Yeah.
is a really just fun, well, like you said, easy breezy kind of song that's got a good melody and just
Yeah.
just
It's
fun.
sort of like the world's problems. I don't want to be a soldier and all this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is it weighs heavily on me, but what redeems me is this simple love that I have
Right.
right next to me. So
Right. What's your take on the harmonica usage? Do you like the
yeah,
harmonica?
I love it. I love it. I think it's great. And that's the style kind of like I remember Rocky Raccoon,
Yeah, yeah.
the fun sort of like in and out kind of more so than his early, there's a
Not
place playing.
right, right.
It's odd though, when we get to the next song, uh, that there is so much harmonica and he has nothing to do with the
No,
harmonica on
no.
that one. So that's very weird. But before we get to that song,
Yes.
I thought we'd go through the all of the different versions
Which I like I said
of
before we
this.
started recording, I thought it was odd to have anybody would cover this because it's just such a personal song to
Oh,
John. But
yeah, the covers. Well, I'm not even talking about the
yeah,
covers
not
yet.
even getting there, I
But
know.
what is nice now with Imagine with Plastic Ono Band and with Mind Games is you have a lot of different outtakes versions of this so you can really explore the space with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, this came out the original version and then the 2010 remaster. There was probably another one in there in between that when the CDs came out. I don't know if that's an
Yeah.
official like 1990, like the Paul McCartney
Oh, did
1993
remaster, yeah.
remaster of
Quote
whatever.
unquote. Yeah.
So, but original 2010 remastered. Yeah, and these are the ones that are easy to get. They're streaming. They're
Yeah.
everywhere you look. And then in the Bahamas 1969,
Right.
which there's a full video of, which I guess they discovered later.
Yeah.
Now, this was recorded in the Bahamas on en route to the Bed in Peace thing. So he'd already written it in 1969, kind of. It's
Hmm.
mostly there. I mean, it's a simple
It's
song.
recognizable. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just him and Yoko sitting in a bed, sort of practicing their bed in for peace.
Yeah. I like
Um,
that version that comes through. It's very simple. He is that where he also sings a wop bob a loo bop a wop bamboo or something. He sort of like makes up some lyrics along the way, and then
yeah.
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 But then it's still the tune. You can still hear oh Yoko. It's still there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then there's the Evolution documentary, which doesn't have the Bahamas thing in it at all.
No.
And it's a different demo, I believe,
Right. Right.
that plays at the first. So I wonder whether there's not a separate Evolution documentary. I'm not sure maybe there is in the set box set too.
Hmm.
There's so many things you got to go through
I
here.
know a lot of sources
Yeah,
now.
the I'm talking about the other box set too. The what was
Yeah,
the
the
Lennon
anthology.
anthology.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there might be something in there that I missed just because you get almost everything you need in this box set now,
Hmm.
because you got the Evolution documentary, which, kind of takes you through the recording process and how, okay, we changed this and then they added this. And then there's a really great Elements mix, which, so we said you can't talk about the song without the piano. Well, you can, because this strips that out,
Right.
and so you can really hear those Rod Linton, Andy Davis acoustic guitars. You really hear John's vocals and the harmony vocals as well, and all that harmonica really loud. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a fun one to listen to just because it's so different, you know.
Right. Right. Agreed.
And then this also has take one extended raw studio mix, take one alternate vocal raw studio mix. Not, I mean, they're just
Yeah. Not that
alternate
much
versions.
different.
Not that
Yeah.
much different, but I enjoyed listening to both of them.
Hmm.
There's some riffing and some stuff at the end, and okay, that's enough, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let the take go on long enough so you can hear John like, okay, that's enough of this.
Yeah. He gets kind of annoyed.
And then, of course, the ultimate mix, and this was also on the "Give Me Some Truth."
Right. Which is yeah, that's what I've listened to hear the finished
Yeah,
version, and it
yeah.
sounds great.
I enjoyed listening to all of them. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I got a little tired of it towards the end of the week. But if you get tired of listening to John Lennon sing "Oh Yoko," but you still want to hear some "Oh Yoko," amazingly, Dave,
You got another choice. Yeah.
there are some cover versions of it, and there's one in particular that I found really fascinating, which is 1983 rock band from New York City called Shockabilly.
Yeah.
I listened to a few of their other things, and they have very interesting experimental approach to cover songs, basically.
Hmm.
It's a very short song, like a minute and a half, I think.
Hmm. So they
It
don't do the
closed their record.
whole thing. Huh?
But yeah, but it stood out to me. It
Yeah.
was pretty good, pretty interesting. So
Hmm.
I feel like a little more experimental
Yeah.
stuff, which I do. Shockabilly. Great name too.
Yeah, it is.
And then the Bare Naked Ladies. Are you a big Bare Naked Ladies guy?
I remember in undergrad, my college roommate, Andrea, was from Canada, and
Mhm.
she was a huge Barenaked Ladies fan because they're Canadian. So I had to
Oh,
hear them a lot because they had a couple of hits. In fact, they had a song called Yoko Ono, if I remember correctly.
aha.
And
Yes.
yeah, so I knew of them. I didn't know they did a cover of Oh Yoko though.
Yeah, this is from Instant Karma Saved Darfur, 2007,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
little sort of a charity thing.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward version though. A
Hmm.
little bit of an organ solo, a little different, and then they throw in a little bit right at the end. You can hear a little bit of "All You Need Is Love."
Hmm. Okay.
So that's kind of fun. And then at the 30th annual John Lennon tribute, live from the Beacon Theater, New York City, 2011, Patti Smith and
Oh.
New Jersey musician Tony Shanahan did a version of it, and she had some very nice things to say in the intro about Yoko and how Yoko comforted her when her husband died, sort
Hmm.
of recently before that. Very pleasant, sort of sing along version of that.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of harmonica on that one. So now, one last thing. This is not a cover version, but there is a group called Oh Yoko.
Okay.
And the genre they appear to be in is I know Dave's a big
Oh no.
fan of gospel chill.
Gospel chill.
Yeah. So it's like smooth sounding
Smooth
gospel type
gospel.
stuff.
Okay.
So
All right, I gotta check this out.
so
Huh.
yeah.
The group is gospel chill that singing, and their group is called Oh Yoko.
That's
All
right.
right. That's a
That's
great
right.
name for a group. All right.
That's right.
Well, so I think a great tune. It's not gonna. You're not looking for deep meanings here, but it's very pleasant, enjoyable, and nice music and a great album closer. So,
Yeah.
as we move now to 1980,
Our reversible
yeah, our own single
jacket,
here. Yeah,
our reversible jacket will flip to the other side of our
yes,
jacket, which we should have just done that. I don't
we
know why
should have
we
just.
took them to the cleaners.
I know we should have just turned it around. I know it's still white. You can see the inside. Yeah. So we'll flip our jackets now and flip our imaginary record over
Yeah,
to the other song today, which is Dear Yoko from Double Fantasy.
yeah,
And so we're going now to 1980. I just was rereading part of Philip Norman's John Lennon biography this morning
yeah.
about this song. And I didn't know this, but right before John wrote this song, Yoko was kind of back into heroin and
Oh,
had to go into detox, and she would keep lying to John. She kept saying she had the flu and was sick and all of this stuff. And she was felt terrible because he had just written this song for her and he was being so sweet. And then eventually he was sent away, or he left to Long Island and recorded a demo of this song. And so it was just kind of interesting scenario. And then he went on this very long sailing trip where he almost died and capsized and had
wow.
things happen. But yeah, so what seems like a pretty simple song, and it is was kind of born out of this time when he didn't know what was going on with Yoko, and yet he's just trying to be sweet and make a positive song about her. So yeah, dear Yoko.
I bring this up sometimes, occasionally, which is there's no current Wikipedia article about Dear Yoko, and I
No.
think that usually shows you the lack of popularity
Mm.
of something. I don't hate this tune, but it is definitely the worst of the two. And I think that this tune suffers a little bit from being so close on Double Fantasy to Woman, which is
Mm.
just an incredible,
Yeah.
everyone loves that song, beautiful love song. So to come from that to
Mm.
this song, I think it also suffers very much from the music. The music is it's got a lot going on, but a lot of it's I don't know if it's production. I don't know if it's because there's so many harmonicas. I don't know if it's this repetitive lick I don't like love so much. I don't know if it's the one chord on the electric guitar that's very high, ding
Yeah.
ding 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 ding, over and over and over again.
Right.
But to me, I've never quite liked this song because of
Mm.
the music of it, and the lyrics of it are very simple. Very, I miss you because you're not here. I miss you even for a day. I miss you
When the
even
sun
after all
don't
this time.
shine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair points. So I read also that Hugh McCracken, who's appeared on Lennon and McCartney albums, we remember, he was the one responsible for kind of putting the arrangement together and doing a lot of the guitar stuff on there. So maybe that is it is kind of sharp in the mix too. I think this song feels very slight in
Yeah.
comparison to some of the other works on Double Fantasy, like Woman or What Watching the Wheels or Beautiful Boy or almost anything else. It just seems very brief, like almost,
Yeah.
yeah, slight. Now I sent you a little video that John told his group to it should sound like the song Shame, 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 which is kind of a disco-y dance tune.
Yeah.
Did you catch that connection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
So much else on Double Fantasy sounds so great. Even just like starting over is kind of a throwback uh, track, but it sounds so
Right.
cutting edge still in some way. This one to me doesn't. It sounds very just barely 80s production.
Yeah,
There is a little bit of a disco feel to it. The simplicity of the lick, there's a oh, you go da da
yeah.
da 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 da. Never ever 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 gonna let you go. Da
Da,
da
da,
da
da,
da 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 da.
da,
So it's a little too
kind of
same,
pat. Yeah.
yeah. And I really was really hearing that high pitch sort of like dit, dit, dit,
Yeah.
dit, dit, guitar, which is kind of a disco thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it just doesn't make you want to get up and necessarily dance or anything like
No,
that.
no.
Now, I'm being a little harsh on it, it sounds like. I don't hate the song. It's just, I would not put it in a dud category for sure. I would say maybe Skipper.
Yeah. Well, especially think about how there were songs on that were recorded for Double Fantasy that later were released on Milk and Honey that I think would be better than this one.
Nobody Told Me, I mean, is
For
just
one, yeah,
phenomenal
of
song
course.
compared to, yeah.
Or I'm Stepping Out or whatever you want to put on there.
Yeah.
So there's other ones, but it had to be, given the back and forth of John and Yoko on the album, it sort of fits
Yeah. Yeah, it
the
fits
theme.
and it's nice to I mean, it's nice to have multiple Yoko songs to
Yoko's,
talk
yeah,
about. And that one's on an early album, one's on this late album. So they do kind of bookend each other in a nice way. So in
true.
the context of his entire catalog, then thumbs up. Okay, so this one too, it's got the original, right?
Hmm.
It's got the John Lennon acoustic, where there's on the acoustic album, which you can see right over
Yep.
here, right? Have you spun that recently?
No, no, I don't
And
forgot that I even have it.
it's very tinny guitar at the beginning of this,
Yes,
and it's a
yes,
very long 4-minute version of this, but you do get a better sense of the chord changes he was thinking about, and they are the right chord changes. There are the chord changes in the song. It's not necessarily the songwriting or the chord changes. They're sort of similar to many of his other simpler songs. So it's
yeah,
I pin this one on Hugh McCracken probably.
yeah. Hugh
Uh,
McCracken,
uh,
and I'm
uh,
gonna say the production too. I don't like
yeah,
for some reason it just doesn't. It's fine on some of the other songs, but for this song, I don't know. It just I want more Phil Spector on this one for something.
yeah.
It's too dry, too kind of
Well, of
yeah.
course, this was remastered in 2010 and stripped down in
Yeah, the
2010.
stripped. Hmm.
By the way, the stripped down. So you don't get a stripped down
No.
unless somebody somewhere someday has complained about the production, right?
Right,
You're gonna
right.
be, ah, this production's perfect.
Yeah,
I wish I could hear a stripped down version of it. Although they did that with the underdubbed, I
that's true. That's true.
guess. But
Yeah.
stripped down wasn't all that stripped down though.
No, it sounded pretty
It
similar to me.
all it did was add John's letter reading at the
Yes, the
end,
talking.
and the harmonica keeps going.
Yeah.
By the way, I think there's like four harmonicas on this or something.
It's kind of like on Fool on the Hill has all those harmonicas. John and George, I think George Martin were all playing different harmonicas. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
harmonicas on Dear Yoko.
yeah. Oh, and they
Yeah.
thought well enough of this to put it on it has an ultimate mix.
It does. It
And
does.
it was on the Give Me Some Truth box set. I don't think it was on the vinyl set. I think it was just on the big CD set,
Yeah,
which gives some much needed low frequency range to balance sort of that high pitch of that repeating chord I
true.
keep complaining about. And of
Yeah.
course, no cover versions of this I could find.
I don't know. This one or Cleanup Time are kind of the. Oh, I really like Cleanup Time on Double Fantasy, but these are the two that kind of get overlooked or get kind of because they weren't singles or they weren't famous. Even
That's part
more.
of the problem too, is there's these heavyweight
Yeah,
all-time
yeah.
great tracks, your
Right.
favorite John Lennon song on this thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Watching the
so
wheels.
it's
Yeah.
like it's very difficult to compete with
True.
that and with Woman, which is
Yeah,
another love
of
song, and
course.
just like starting over, and so
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
and even some of the Yoko's tracks are better than the Kiss 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 and
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful Boys on this as
Beautiful
well. So
boys. Yeah. Right, right.
um,
So no cover versions on
no
this one,
cover
huh?
versions of that yet.
Yet. That's right. There's still an
That's a
opportunity.
challenge to you. I
Yeah.
know we got a lot of bands out there listening to us. Like, where's the Barenaked Ladies version of
Yeah,
this?
I know they
That's
should, or
enough.
where's Oyoko's version of this? They should do a
Yeah, Oh
version.
Yoko. I am stunned that Oh Yoko hasn't done a cover version of Oh Yoko.
I know. It just seems
Made
like an
it
obvious.
oh Jesus, oh maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I mean, gospel chill.
Gospel chill. There's the message of the pod today. So if we had to rank, obviously I think I know where we both fall on this one. Between the two Yoko songs, we're gonna say "Oh Yoko" is certainly the superior song and
Yes,
much more
yes,
to recommend for it.
yeah, yeah. I like Oh Yoko a lot, and
Yeah.
Dear Yoko's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Like you said, actually, I'll maybe to close the discussion on this point that you made earlier, it is a more mature John. He's not talking about being in the bath and shaving. He's talking about it's more like we've been together all this time and I still miss you when I'm gone, even though we've been together a long time.
Yeah,
So I think it's adult John, kind of married 40-year-old
yeah.
John.
John, who's hoping to grow old with Yoko and wishes she
Right.
was around all the time still after
Yeah.
all these years, rather than the first one's sort of like I love to turn you on,
Yeah.
which is nice too. I mean, it's nice still, but it's, less mature and more,
Yeah.
hornier.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
So now we've got some
Yeah.
news. I've got news out the wazoo, amazingly, for a not very newsy time. I wanted to start with this. Doing this week reminded me that I got a call from my wife's mother, who's been on the show,
Yes,
Brenda,
Brenda. Yeah.
and she said, I'm going to have to come to Chicago and stay with you guys because a Yoko Ono exhibition coming to Chicago in the fall, the
Oh,
art show's only US stop,
whoa.
featuring over 200 works from the iconic artist activist, is coming to the Museum of Contemporary Art, the MCA. When the Bowie exhibition came to town, that's where it was. And I
Hmm.
thought the MCA did a fantastic job with that. It's going to start from Saturday, October 18th, 2025, and it runs through Sunday, February 22nd, 2026.
Oh,
And it's,
when I visit my mother in Chicago
yeah,
area, I could go down there.
that's right. And it's going MCA is going to host it. Yoko Ono Music of the Mind at the Griffin Galleries of Contemporary Art, fresh off a run at the Tate Modern in London, where the exhibition reportedly set attendance records.
Ooh.
So it should be good. And it says it's one of the most comprehensive exhibitions to date of the artist, musician, and peacekeeper, celebrating key moments of Ono's career, showcasing art driven by ideas expressed in poetic, humorous, and profound ways. Going to have over 200 works, variety of media and genres, including cut piece,
Oh, wow.
fly,
Ooh.
the band film number four, Bottoms, which Ono created as a petition for peace. Her collaborations with John Cage and Ornette Coleman,
Oh my
and
gosh.
of course John Lennon. Yeah,
Terrific.
so I think it's going to be fantastic. So I'm definitely going
Yeah, I will
with
too.
Brenda and my wife, and we'll make a wonderful day of it. So
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah. Okay, so that's one Yoko Ono piece of news. Another one, of course, the one-to-one
Yeah.
film is out. Along with that, the Record Store Day release, which I did a little mini review on our YouTube page, which
We'll
if
link
you
to it.
thumbs up on the 4 tracks of that.
How's Don't Worry, Kyoko?
I liked it. I thought it sounded great.
Okay.
Like the band really is kicking ass.
Yeah, because I heard one really positive thing about I know as a former saxophone player, I hate to say this, but Elephant's
Hmm.
Memory, I don't like the saxophonist. I think he's real honky and annoying.
Hmm.
And I heard that on the EP that they toned down the saxophone. Is that?
Yeah, I feel like it's mixed really well, and I even said that it's like the audience is mixed well.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
not too loud, not too soft.
right.
It's like really gives you a good sense of wow, this is going to be quite a set. Which
Yes.
so they're obviously promoting the one-to-one documentary. out in theaters now with positive reviews.
Hmm.
Sean Ono Lennon recently spoke to Variety. You should seek out the Variety article, and it had a little hidden news in there. First, we had gotten the news, and in our big April news episode, we expressed the news that yes, there is a one-to-one box set coming out,
Right.
and he says the words in October we are
Yes.
releasing a box set, so it's confirmed October.
Around John's birthday is what I'd read.
Yeah, we're doing a little box set for the whole concert, which is gonna be cool. I'm allowed to say that. We've worked very hard on that. In terms of John and Yoko, that's the only thing I think I'm supposed to talk about right now.
Whoa.
What
Okay.
does that mean?
What does that mean? Double fantasy box? And what is
Double,
that?
or maybe sometime in New York City.
Or
Maybe they,
sometime New York City box? Yeah.
which would be in the whole genre of the whole
Yeah, that's
everything we've been
true.
talking about here.
True.
So,
Hmm.
and then he talked a little bit about some other stuff. And then personally, I'm in the middle of finishing the third Delirium album.
Oh,
My band with Les Claypool. That record's going to be finished very soon. We're working on the artwork and stuff, and that's going to come out as soon as it's ready. So I'm excited about that too. So a third Lennon Delirium
Lennon
group.
Claypool Delirium.
Delirium. That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder, I guess Sean's been working so much on these box sets that he hasn't released anything of his own for quite a while. So,
I wish he'd do another Ghost of the Saber-Tooth
yeah.
Tiger
Yeah.
because I like that group a little bit more than Les Claypool's a little too esoteric for my tastes.
Hmm.
But I did enjoy the listens when we did a little brief review of the
Right.
two Claypool records. Zach Starkey,
Oh,
he's really
this
had
is
all kinds of Zach Starkey news.
had a
He was he
rough
was
couple weeks here.
yeah, he was fired. And then just today, on the 19th, rehired by The Who.
No, really?
Yes.
Oh.
So apparently, what happened is that they were playing at the Royal Albert Hall, The Who, and this was their first gig in a long time. And Roger got very upset at Zach's playing and it was too loose. And but today, The Who's Pete Townsend said he is not being asked to step down. There has been some communication issues, and these have been aired happily, says Townsend. Starkey then wrote on his social media, very grateful to be a part of the Who family. Thanks, Roger and Pete. So
Hmm.
he is now back in. So
That's
the
funny.
big Zach Starkey news, but not the only Zach Starkey
Well,
news.
can I say something on
Yeah.
that? Because
Yes.
I thought it was hilarious, and a lot of people noticed this, but that Roger Daltrey apparently said that that Zach Starkey was overplaying on the drums, and then people are like, Roger, do you remember who the drummer of the Who was? Talk about
Yeah.
overplaying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keith Moon. Woof.
In between getting fired and rehired, Zach Starkey took to Instagram and he posted an unreleased all-star recording of a version of T-Rex's Children of the Revolution on Instagram, including Elton John, three people from Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, Slash, and Duff McKagan,
Hmm.
and the drummer, Ringo Starr.
Oh, wow.
First completely new studio
Hmm.
material with the reformed Guns N' Roses, but Ringo in there.
Ringo on
So
drums with Axl Rose, like in Slash. How crazy. And
yeah,
Elton John. What
yeah.
a strange
So
group.
exactly. So strange, but if you go to at the real Zach and it's Zak Starkey, you can
Yeah.
hear it. You can hear the track, and he's saying, come on, let's get this record out and helping the teenagers who, as musicians, we rely on so much. I guess it's a charity kind of thing,
Mm.
is why they did that. So
Did you listen to it?
I listened to it. It's pretty cool.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'll
Yeah,
check it out.
so check it out. Gagosian LA, which is a art house showing 36 Paul McCartney rare photos in a special exhibition, including some that have never been seen before. that the singer-songwriter took in 63 and 64. Not even in the book, apparently.
Not from Eyes from the
Yeah.
Storm.
And I guess the photos will be available to purchase to help benefit wildfire recovery efforts. Of course, the
Hmm.
wildfires early this year
Yeah.
in LA. So it's Gagosian, LA.
Hmm.
So check that out if you're in the LA area. A new album from Japanese Breakfast, who's an artist I really like. Michelle Zauner was talking about it, and she brought up, and they went, "Did you have Jim Keltner on this album?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, Jim Keltner was on there. It's amazing. He brought all this stuff." And she was just going on and on about Jim Keltner and how cool it was to
Hmm.
work with Jim Keltner. So a little follow up to a previous
Beetle
episode, the
friend.
Riedel
Yeah.
friend Jim Keltner episode.
Hmm.
But Dave's got his pre-order in.
Oh,
It's expected in the spring or summer of this year. Ringo Starr Friday Music vinyl series continues. First time ever vinyl release in a deluxe 2 LP set. Ringo's Landmark 2003 Masterwork.
wow.
Ringo Rama. Ringo Rama. Stunning. It says stunning super limited edition translucent yellow vinyl. Stellar first time ever gatefold cover art. 3 bonus tracks never on vinyl. Fan favorites like his tribute to George Harrison, Never Without You, featuring Eric Clapton, Memphis on Your Mind, featuring Roy Orbison, Missouri Love's Company, featuring David Gilmour, and Write One for Me, featuring Willie Nelson, mastered impeccably by Joe Riagoso at Friday Music Studios, Huntington Beach, California. Price for Ringo Rama.
Yes, I know.
$69.98. I can't
Ooh,
imagine purchasing this as much as I
no.
love Ringo. And have we ever done Ringo Rama? Maybe
We've
we'll
talked
get to
about
it.
some of it before because one of those Mark Hudson albums. It's actually it is. I mean, it's steady and there's some good songs on there. Some of the ones you mentioned,
Yeah.
but what they did, it looks like, is they spread out the album in that they added these three extra tracks to make it onto two
Yeah.
LPs, so
Yeah.
that jacks up the price
Yeah.
to
But
70
usually
bucks.
even a 2 LP record these days is about 39 bucks. Now, if there's like direct
Hmm.
from analog or something
Hmm.
like that, sometimes the price can be a little more inflated, but
But 70
$70
bucks plus
for
shipping
a
plus tax,
Ringo, yes, plus yeah, so you're paying
probably
almost like 100
80. I
bucks
know.
for Ringo Rama, which is
Yeah.
just I mean not a bad album, but it's not worth. There was a $15 sale at You Discover Music recently, and I got a Elton John album, and it was 2 discs, so I had a bonus disc, and then it was $15.
Whoa.
Some coupon, you know how if you do it on your computer, it'll add go find a coupon.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
ended up getting it for like $10 for
Nice.
two
Nice.
for 2 discs. So I'd rather have that
Yeah.
than the
See,
69.98 Ringo record.
no, what that means is you just saved more money that you can spend now on Ringo Rama.
That's right.
Yeah.
I also saw it recently at my local record shop with a 75% off sticker on it. Stop and smell the roses. So I don't know
Did
why
you
I didn't
you
snatch it
didn't
up.
get it? 75% off of what was the list price there for
Yeah,
that one?
probably 29.99 or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. So
Wow. Some things are happening here. I think
yeah,
if there's going to be any bigger releases, we imagine they would start to ramp up fairly soon as we're getting into heart of spring right now, and
yeah.
these things get announced.
I haven't heard about any George releases, but I did see the George Be Here Now, very high
Oh yeah.
priced record store day single, which is the B side is the Beck version of Be Here Now. And then there was also the $100 Zoetrope
Oh.
release, but it was the Phil Spector mix. So perhaps some people purchased that, but I also saw that at the record store, but did not purchase that
Yeah.
either. But no word on any new George thing
No.
as of yet, and no word on any Paul release, though I suspect we might get something,
Yeah.
but who knows?
We'll see. Well, in any case, we always will keep you informed. If you haven't
Yeah,
checked out our YouTube pages, be sure to do that. I've got a Beatles podcast is on YouTube. Chris is actively putting up older videos as well as the new ones we do.
yeah. In fact, I just did the Song Under the Microscope, New York City, if you remember
Yeah,
that one.
perfect. Very
So
timely for
very
this
timely.
episode as well. And then also song album career. We're starting to get back to that and have gotten some comments and more subscriptions. So keep it
Yeah,
up.
there'll be a big one coming out very soon on that one.
Yeah, look
So
forward to it.
yeah,
All right. Well, thanks as always for listening, and we will be back at you soon with a new episode.